Kia ora koutou, my name's Damien, and today I'll be running a 20-minute coaching session for SPCO302. Today we're going to be focusing on hockey with a main focus on footwork and making sure you're getting your feet behind the ball, which aids you in dribbling and makes you have more control. Okay, so in this drill, it's just a pretty typical run through the cones with a main focus on your typical left-right drag. So you're basically making sure that you're going the ball from foot to foot and side to side, with a main focus on making sure that you keep it close to the feet so you can get the most control possible. This is due to if you have the ball out here, you have a lot less control on the ball, whereas if you have it here, way more control, which enables you to go through the cones a lot easier. So left, right, left, right, left, right, left. Yeah. So during this drill, we have an associate learner here whose name is Blake. Hopefully you should be able to get through the cones relatively well, but here we go. Oh.
What did I do wrong?
Okay. Well, unfortunately there, he managed to lose control, but that's okay, because obviously we're going to be splitting this session out over 10 minutes. So thankfully he'll be able to get another go, and hopefully he'll be able to get through it a lot quicker than he was doing it currently.
When practicing athlete-centered coaching, I like to make the athlete aware of the mistakes they've been making so they can improve in the future. So for instance, Blake here was unfortunately getting the ball too far away from him with a lack of control and not keeping the ball close to his feet. As you can see on the next attempt, Blake made steady progress and was aware of the mistakes he was making so that he could improve on them, keeping the ball closer to his feet and his body more parallel to the ground.
Okay Blake, so that was a nice job. You definitely improved on the first time you went through. We're just going to run through a little bit quicker and try and get those things going through a little bit quicker than usual.
Unfortunately, due to time constraints, I wasn't able to apply any lead constraints theory of changing the playing environment by shortening the distance in between the cones and increasing the level of progression.
Another really good effort there, Blake. I definitely like that you're going a lot through quicker. I love the fact that you're getting down nice and low and making sure that your ball was in line with your feet when you're transitioning from left to right. You definitely improved throughout the couple of sessions that you had there, but obviously still room for improvement as you are just an associate learner. Okay, so in this session we've got two more associative learners, Blake, another Blake, and Michael. So hopefully they should be able to get through this drill relatively easily, but then again, there's always going to be progression whenever you're trying out skills like this. The main points are, again, making sure that you have good footwork and making sure that the ball is directly in front of your feet. Otherwise, if it's way out or it's not close enough, it's obviously going to be a lot more difficult to control the ball. So yeah. Okay, so in this next drill, it's a pretty simple half spin where you're receiving the ball in front of you, making sure that you're coming through the cones, executing a nice little half spin through the next person, and then running back a touch, go and receive it from the other side. So I'll demonstrate real quick. So I'm starting out from here, receiving the ball here, making sure I spin with the ball wheel nice and close, laying it off, walking back, receiving the ball, and going around the cone again.
As you can see, like many associative learners, Blake has jumped into the drill a little too confident and is rushing through the fundamentals. Upon reflection, he should have slowed the skill down on his first attempt and focused making sure he was working hard to get his feet behind the ball and trust the process of progression.
Obviously Blake, you're actually doing that relatively nicely. Maybe in the next one, what we're going to focus more on is making sure that you're getting closer to the ball and making sure you're getting a little bit lower so that you have a bit more control, and also upping the tempo so that we can have a little bit more progression rather than just going through it at a rather tranquil pace. But obviously there's always going to be progression when you're starting out to learn a new skill, so yeah.
Although upon reflection I should have told Blake to slow the skill down, he did actually take on board everything that I said, and he worked really hard to make sure that his feet were getting behind the ball. In fact, this was the best that I saw of him the entire session, so it's really good to see that he's actually progressing due to some advice that I was giving him. The level of Blake's progression made me confident in applying the leg constraints theory and introducing a new variation which would test his progression and make him feel uncomfortable.
Okay, now that we've set a good platform in terms of skills, we're going to be adding in another variation. This time we're actually going to be travelling on the forehand, which requires a lot more footwork and getting around the bill to make sure that you've got a lot more control over the ball. Okay, so this is an example of the forehand. I'm going to receive it just like the normal drill, however I'm going to be turning around this side. Working hard off the ball to get round. back, receiving again, and back around again.
As you can see, the new variation and change in skill requirements really challenge his progression and skill as an athlete. This is due to the cognitive challenges the skill presents, as dribbling on the forehand in a reverse motion isn't a natural movement, and it is much more difficult to move your feet to a controllable position. Thankfully, Blake took his time in learning the skill and didn't rush the process as he had done previously.
Obviously, it's a different skill to the one that you learned before. Again, you've just got to make sure that you're getting nice and close to the ball, and also making sure the ball remains close to you. Otherwise, you end up getting tangled up with the other sides of your stick. So obviously, to continue the drill, you've got to keep going around.
Just like the last drill, it was pleasing to see that Blake once again took on board the advice I suggested and worked hard on correcting his mistakes. As a coach, I am intrigued to see how he applies his learnings to an in-game situation. Again, I felt it was essential to continue reinforcing the positives whilst also still mentioning what he could do better, as well as continually focusing on his footwork, which is the intention of the lesson.
Really good stuff there, Blake. There's obviously a definite improvement. I wouldn't say there was too much change about that. Obviously, in order for you to be really consistent at that all the time, just got to continue draining that drill in. But otherwise, I thought it was a relatively successful session, and you've definitely shown improvement based on what I've seen. But then again, obviously, riding home the point that you really do need to get that footwork in check, making sure the ball's nice and close, and also continue, just progressing as a hockey player in general. So, really good session overall, Blake. Well done.